Well, I definitely should make a contribution to what's going on at the moment. So, Starmer, this report's been done by that Louise Casey, and there's absolutely nothing in it that I didn't already know. And if you've been following this story, there'll be nothing in it that you didn't already know either. Just common knowledge that everybody knows. So stuff that everybody knows is in this report, and then suddenly Mr. Starmer is saying, even he put a real government loyalist in charge of because it's going to be that Louise Casey. She's been on my shit list since about 2000. She was appointed practically straight from university by Tony Blair, made a chief advisor to the Labour Party, and then became entrenched, became a member of the permanent government. So she's been doing jobs for Blair, Brown, Cameron, Theresa May, even worked for Truss and Sunak. No one's ever sacked her. She's one of Tony Blair's. She's one of that big group of women he brought into the Labour Party in 1997 just so he can say that he'd brought on a load of women. So you can look at her history as to where she's knee deep in every single bloody cover up and whitewash inquiry that's been done in the last 20 years. It's Louise Casey. She usually makes the case along the lines of being a radical feminist. So if you've put it to her, we want you to do this inquiry, we want you to kick it into the long grass, and she realises there's no way she can do it without destroying her reputation. So what she do? She leaks it. Because she's been stitched up. She's been asked to come up with a fiction that absolves Labour, and she can't. Because there's just no proof. But saying that, everything that she said, everything that she found is common knowledge. I could have written that report for her. Common knowledge. There's nothing new, nothing groundbreaking, and you can see by the response, you know what the Labour Party intends to do? Kick it into the long grass. There'll be if there is a public inquiry, it'll be one that's limited to just talking about the perps. Yes, the Labour are going to go in hard on those who are guilty of the crimes, which is what they should have done anyway, but they're going to want to be rewarded for that. And they're going to do everything they possibly can to shift the blame away from their own councils and colleagues. That's what's going to happen. It's absolutely obvious. And at the moment, all they're doing is just taking it, staying reasonably quiet, and they're just going to brass it out. They're just going to wait it out until it heads off into the long grass for it to rear its ugly head again in a couple of years' time. And then we'll have a public inquiry, and the results of the public inquiry will be, I don't know, like the Iraq War inquiry will be made confidential, top secret for 100 years. Did you ever see the results of did you ever get to read the Iraq War inquiry? No, I didn't. It's because it's not going to be... No one's allowed to see it, ever. They did a public inquiry, and it was all on television, and it was all broadcast, and the findings of the report, maybe your grandchildren might get to see it. So yeah, people saying, we want a public inquiry, and it's like, well, we'll give you one. It's like, we don't trust you to give us one. And we don't trust it to be done in any kind of realistic time frame. And while you're doing this, right, and you're talking about, but these offences happened 20 and 25 years ago, and it's like, yeah, and we can't get where it's happening right now because you say it don't happen. You say it happened 20 years ago. And I can say, I'm Rochdale, Rochdalian, yeah? I don't have to go far to see it with my own eyes. I think it's only probably a week since I've seen a very glum-looking schoolgirl in the passenger seat of some Pakistani drug dealer's car. Within the last week, there's one who comes round here with his schoolgirl girlfriend. drops off bits of weed for blokes down bottom of the road. It's like everybody knows, everybody sees it. But we're not allowed to talk about it. Up until this week, apparently we can talk about it now, but we can't talk about what's going on right now. We have to talk about things that happened 20 and 25 years ago and pretend that that's what's going on. And it's like, do you know what's changed in this town since the exposure of this grooming gang situation? Absolutely nothing at all. The recent case that went through, where guys have got serious prison time for pimping. Apparently, there'd been 4 attempts to prosecute that case, and every time it'd been turned down by the CPS. And they had those guys banged to rights. They had all the evidence in the bloody world. They knew everything. But still, the CPS knocked that case back 4 times before it was prosecuted. Just a bad luck, isn't it? It's a bad luck. This'll feed the opposition. This'll feed the right. And it's like, well, no, it's you failed. So yeah, it's going to feel you failed unmitigatingly, utterly failed in every way you could conceive failure. You failed. So it should be fuel for your political opponents. Yes, but they're right wing. So as soon as they started to cover it up, they politicised it, right? And it's Rochdale Council who've made the original cock-ups. And then it's Rochdale Council who've conceived the original narrative. It was Rochdale Council who attempted to sue the Times so they couldn't publish the story. Rochdale Council. It's like, wow, I didn't know that Rochdale Council could apply to the High Court secretly and get a D notice against the story. Turns out they can. You got it where in recent times where they said, oh, we're going to ask the councils if they would like to voluntarily, and all of them have denied, all of them have said no. Bradford, absolutely not. There's never going to be a grooming gang inquiry there. Telford, absolutely not. There's never going to be a grooming gang inquiry there. Why? Because a lot of these people involved were all bad arrests. They're all relatives of the local bloody power. They're all relatives of the local establishment. That's the thing about Rochdale. You can be above the law because your uncle's a politician. You can be above the law because your uncle's a copper. If you come from a father in politics, forget it. Rochdale at weekend, because there's a lot of distractions going on at this moment in time. There was another son, I've covered him before, sons of Rochdale councillors. The last one I covered was the chap who's now currently serving as Rochdale's mayor, who's he's been investigated for a lot of sexual harassment allegations, but it's never been looked at by the police, and the council have found him innocent every time someone's come forward. They found him. The council do their own inquiry, and they always find their own people innocent. You see, and then that's the end of it. And if you talk more, you start getting legal threats off them. So. The last guy, his son, took half of his bloody family and attempted to join ISIS. He took children, a group of this Labour senior in Rochdale, Labour councillor. His son took a lot of his relatives and they all went away to move to go and work for ISIS, to go and join ISIS. He got captured on the Turkish border. And what happened to him? Nothing. All that happened was he was brought back, sent home, with the help of our local MP, I might add. Mr. Dankzuk played a big part in this one. And then the guy let it be known to the people of Rochdale that anyone who talks about this risks being criminalised and sued for defamation. You don't know anything about my family. You don't know anything about me. Anyone who talks about this, you're in trouble. Silenced us. With threats of both private legal action and criminalisation. And then went on to be the mayor of Rochdale. And then you've got whistleblowers who work for the council who are saying he's been sexually harassing me for years. And it's like, has he now? So then those reports get made to the police take it no further. Those reports get made to the council and the council investigate themselves and as always find themselves innocent. That's Rochdale for you. There's a thing today. I'm going to show you a picture. See if I can find it. And not cut my video up and not take too long. Let me show you a picture. This is a Rochdale picture. This is something that you could really only see in Rochdale. That you wouldn't see this anywhere else in the Western world. Here is a poster from one of our local shill news outlets. This is a new shill news outlet. The last shill news outlet went out of business. And they've got a new shill outfit with the same writers who just word for word repeat everything that the council say. So let's find this here. There you go. Pride parade and celebrations return to Rochdale this Sunday. And look at our fine gay men who they've stuck in the picture. Look at our fine gay men they've stuck in the picture. Let's all be gay. Let's all be gay and better than everyone else, eh? And what do you see? I see 5 Pakistani men. And the headline holding this frame, and the frame says Pride Parade and celebrations return to Rochdale this Sunday. Well, you see, Rochdale has a great deal of newcomers, let's call them, new faces. People like to call them illegals or illegal immigrants. They like to call them that, but here we'll call them newcomers because Rochdale's an inclusive place. And it looks like these guys are on the gay train to citizenship. I would doubt that any one of these 5 men who are in this gay photo are actually gay. They're all illegals saying they're gay. Because you only have to say you're gay to be allowed to stay in this country as long as you like. Just tell them you're gay. They're not even going to ask you to prove it. So it's like Rochdale's sort of, let's say, establishment, in essence, important people class who control these local media outlets. Well, you know, they buy it up, line and sinker. These guys are persecuted in their own country for being gay, so it's our job to take them in. These guys are not gay. Have you ever heard of a Pakistani gay guy? I've only ever heard of 2. And one of them has got wife and kids and would never admit that he's gay, but loads of people have outed him and he never sued any of them. So I only know 2 Pakistanis who are gay. And the other one's Lord Ali, who's Starmer's buddy. They're the only Pakistanis I've ever heard of who are gay. One of them denies it, and the other one's just openly, flamingly gay. But they're the only 2 gay Pakistani guys I've ever heard of. There may be plenty of them around, but they certainly don't do anything in public. They keep a lid on it because in their own community, that kind of activity might get you in a lot of trouble. So it's like only these guys who are definitely, they're illegals, aren't they? The new guys. They're illegal immigrants, these fellas. It's only these guys who haven't got any family around here who would be photographing themselves as, hey, we're gay and we're proud. That's Rochdale for you. That's bullshit. For me to say, if I was to jump on this, because I've got Facebook, if I was to jump on this Facebook group and say, are these guys on the gay train to citizenship? I'd probably get booted out of the group. Could even get reported to the police. That's what Rochdale is. You believe that this is Rochdale. 5 Pakistani men in a poster for a gay parade. It's like, comments? What do you think? It's like, wow. Like, what the fuck? But then saying that, you know, while everyone's distracted, talking about the Labour Party admitting to things that were already public common knowledge and easily provable to be true, while they had us all distracted with that, today, there's still a creasy mob of the Labour Party, which is like our version of the fucking Squad. They've just managed to have full-term abortion legalised. And also, I've just looked at the statute they've passed, and it actually, I didn't know a statute could do this. I've learned something new about the law today. Apparently, government statute can be used to exempt somebody from criminal law. A new bill has passed today that exempts women from being criminally charged for killing their own babies before they're born. So it's not like the NHS are doing last minute abortions, but they've made it legal for you to kill your own kids at home. You think I'm kidding, don't you? You think I'm over egging the pudding here? You think I'm fucking kidding, don't you? Well, there you go. I'll show you another picture. This is unbelievable, this. It's like I was talking to my mum about this when they were fancying doing it in America, and she did not believe me. She says, nah, nobody'd do that. There's nowhere in the world they're doing that. You've obviously believed some bullshit on the internet. And I'm like, no, seriously, mum. I was telling them what they were talking about doing in America, and she's like, no, someone's been pulling your leg, John. Well, how about this? MPs vote to decriminalise abortion in step forward for reproductive rights. The reason given for this new law is that the existing laws were all written by men. Then that was it. All written by men. Someone questioned this on someone was saying, no, they haven't done that. We've got no, they haven't done that. You're just talking nonsense. They haven't made it legal for people to kill their own kids. There's other laws in place that are still on the statute books that aren't being replaced that makes killing your baby illegal, right? So this guy says this. So I goes away and reads the law, and I'm like, yeah, he's right. And then I read this. Where is it? Text of Tonya Anton. Is this picking up? Hang on, let me just check. Yep. Sorry about that. Text of Tonya Antonia's lead. She's also big pushing for that assisted suicide bill at the end of that's the end of this week. She's also the co-signer on that. Text of Tonya Antonazzi's lead amendment to decriminalise abortion by women acting in their own pregnancies. Labour Party MP Tonya Antonazzi, that's a good old, it's like a Yorkshire name, isn't it, is opening the debate. That is because her amendment is the lead amendment, NC1 on new Clause 1. We're putting to vote at 7 p.m. Here's the text of her amendment. The removal of women from the criminal law related to abortion for the purposes of law related to abortion, including sections 58, 59 of the Offences Against the Person Act 1861 and the Infant Life Preservation Act 1929. No offence is committed by a woman acting in relation to her own pregnancy. They just legalised women killing their babies. Now, an incredible threat, and now a legal thing to say to some man would be, I'm going to abort your baby to get revenge on you. Which is something they could do before, and I've even come across people in my life who've had it done to them. You want to see what kind of mess they end up in. You've never known anger like that. I'll tell you, it's like, you wonder sometimes where some guy will go in and do a fucking murder, and you hear about some of the things that's done to men to punish them. And you're like, oh yeah, I'd probably be killing him too. This new clause would disapply that you can use a statute to disapply a criminal law to someone. I didn't know Parliament were able to do that. I didn't know that they were allowed to say, oh yeah, this is illegal, but women in this killing babies law, women are now exempt. But if a man hits a woman with a car who's pregnant, he's going to get done for murdering the baby. But if she murders the baby, fine. The baby can be murdered up until the time it's naturally delivered. Murdered. And they're calling it a victory for human rights. There was no campaign for this. There was no grassroots movement demanding this. They just went ahead and did it. This is an almost carbon copy of laws that were being passed in the States. Like Colorado has laws like this. Well, you had that creepy governor of Colorado saying, well, the way we do it is when the baby's born, the doctor can have a word with the mother, and if it's deemed like this is what she wants to do, the baby can be terminated after it's born, according to that guy when he were running his mouth. He ran his mouth about that, and there was a public outcry in America from all sides, and it got fucking stopped. But in the UK, nobody made anything of it. This story that this was going to come up in Parliament, have a guess when it was released? The story that this was going to be done, this was coming up in Parliament. Friday. On Tuesday, they voted it through. So just when you thought the Labour Party couldn't get any more sick and evil and greasy and avoidant and aloof, they did it. They've done it. While they were using their historical failures as a smokescreen, they've just passed one of the most sick fucking laws ever known in the history of the Western world, a savage law. And the only people it benefits are those who might want to kill their own children. It's like, who wrote that fucking law? Baphomet? Seriously. It's like, where's the outcry? Well, unfortunately, if you go and check on Twitter and the like and see what the people are talking about, they're all talking about grooming gangs. They're not talking about this. It's not trending. No, it's got no traction. No celebrities have picked up on it. No, no really big ex-influencers. People got followers. None of them are talking about this. They haven't caught up with it yet. They're still reeling from, we fucking told you. It's like, yeah, we told you, celebrities. It's like, in this town where I live, which is ground zero for this kind of activity, it's like there are those of us who've known about this for most of our lives, and there's been absolutely nothing we can do about it. And in this town, there are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of victims of child sex abuse. Thousands. I am one, and so was everybody else who went to the same school as me. Everybody. I had a conversation with a mate of mine, it'd be a long time ago now, and we had the conversation. It's like, hey, you know when we used to go to St. Patrick's in Rochdale? So yeah, it's like, I'm trying to find the only kid who wasn't sexually assaulted by that dodgy, much loved scoutmaster. And he's like, well, I know what I was. He's like, he systematically abused every child in the school, boy and girl. I said, I don't know if he went for the girls. And then he'd heard from the girls that he had. He'd had a go at some of them as well. And if you said anything about that guy touching you funny, you just got battered off Mrs. Deering or Mrs. Monroe, who thought the guy was brilliant because he has got that pedo charm that allows him to get away with murder. The women teachers that were our teachers when he was taking us out of the classroom to take us in the boys' toilets to strip us naked, we had to go. He summoned us and took us into the toilets. And it's like, at what stage of this game might this have seemed a little bit suspect? Because any kid who complained got punished. And a punishment them days was at school was a beating. You got a beating. Some fuck old guy wanting to stick his fingers up your ass. And you say something about it and you get a beating. Well, that's the primary school I went to. I have known about this since I was still in short pants. Do you know what it's like to be a 7-year-old trying to hold off a guy who's looking to sexually assault you, who's just strip you naked? Do you know what? Do you ever get the gist of what that might be like? Because I still remember it to this day. I still remember being afraid of that. And it's like, oh, it was completely enabled. Completely enabled at the schools I went to. So it's like, no one can come along and tell me you don't know shit, you don't know what you're talking about. Or no one can come along and say, oh, well, you're overreacting a little bit, aren't you? It's just something that went on a few times, a few years ago. And it's like, Wouldn't it be great? It's like you're those of you whose parents could afford to send you to a decent school. You didn't get nonsed. If you went to a public school, you got nonsed. If you went to a middle school round here, there's a likelihood you went to school to be raped and sexually assaulted, and then you went to high school to be passed around. And then fucking hell, I'm not even going to get started to some of the terrible things that happen to people who go to university. And at every turn, the council covers it up. The core workers of sexual predators active in schools cover it up for them. Schools. They wouldn't believe it true because they're absolutely dumb, and paedophiles and rapists tend to have quite a bit of charm. They tend to be quite good at getting people to do what they will. And they were able to easily pull the wool over the eyes of my school headmaster and all the female teachers above the infant school. Never once heard an offhand comment about that guy as to where it's a bit creepy him. Although I knew that he was creepier than they did. He used to live across the road from me in what was the creepiest fucking house that you've likely creepiest living arrangements you've ever heard of. Where he's worked his way in with an absolute plank of a woman who lived over the road and then got access to both their sons and her granddaughter and sexually abused them all. They're all fucked in the head now. You know, they're absolute cabbages with massive problems with relationships and promiscuity. That's how they ended up. And the dumbass mother of those two boys letting him in the house, she was as stupid as a person as I've ever met in my life. But hey, she thought she was brilliant. And that seems to be the pattern amongst the mothers who let their sons and daughters fall into the hands of paedophiles. They've always got that in common. They're fucking narcissists who think they're brilliant. Oh, nothing like that could happen because I'm infallible. I trust him, so therefore. And what does all this child sex abuse do? It creates people like her. Half-arsed, avoidant, aloof, wouldn't believe it true. It creates people like that. Creates them. Those who can't face it, mask it and detach it and then avoid it. And that's what this town is. It's like nobody can come along and tell me I don't know shit, I don't know what I'm talking about. I can go in a great length. And I ain't the only one who can. It's like I am a bit of a sod for memorising things and not keeping the paperwork. But those who keep the paperwork, oh God, they've got documented evidence of everything that's gone on. See, that's the thing with Rajamia. He's got the paperwork to send them all to jail, but it doesn't matter. He has got the paperwork to send all the leading lights of the Oldham Labour Party and many members of the North West Labour Party to prison for enabling acts of sexual abuse against children. He's got the evidence, but it don't matter. He's actually got the evidence. It just doesn't matter. Because what have they done to him? Oh, they've tried to... basically, he spent a couple of years on bail because leading members of the Labour Party had their friends at the CPS bring up spurious charges against him. So he remains on bails for years, go to trial, and they don't even turn up. And why? Well, he brings all his evidence with him. They can't risk that. They can't risk going to court against someone who's telling the truth and's got evidence. So they don't turn up and suddenly the case is dropped on the day of the trial because the Oldham Labour Party have not deigned to turn up for them prosecuting you for harassment and stalking and the like. Defamation, all this shit. It's like if you want an understanding as to how they go about dealing with people who speak out against them, these Labour councils. First the police come after you, and if the police don't shut you up, they then send the gangsters after you. How do I know all this? Oh, been following Raja for 5-6 years. I've seen what's happened to him. mistake they made going after him was not realising that he was a lot smarter than they are. And he's too dangerous for them to go after. And once they realised he was too dangerous, they stopped trying to criminalise him. When did the attempts to criminalise and smear Raja stop? About 3 months ago. He just posted out an old tweet from Greater Manchester Police, or a section of Greater Manchester Police, alleging that he was a police informant. Just an attempt by the locals to get him killed again. Just another attempt by the locals. He's been everything. He's been secretly gay. He's been he's talking about paedophiles because he is a paedophile. That was the usual method. That's what Oldham Council were doing against him. He's only interested in this because that's what he is. He's one of them. I've had that thrown at me a few times in the past. That's like the most dumbest thing you can come across. But it's true of some. It's true of scammers quite a bit. People are actually looking to, just blatantly rip off. Sometimes projection is the answer, but it's a bit of an easy cop-out, isn't it? Yeah, he's got a big problem with paedophiles because he's got a guilty conscience because he's a paedophile. And things like that be coming out from the council and the police, not dickheads making comments. These be comments coming from the council and the police when Roger started asking questions about him. Usually it's like they're dealing with someone who's not so smart, who they can frighten, but Roger's not stupid. He's like highly trained by the government to deal with that kind of corruption. Man's been trained as an anti-extremist, anti-terrorism specialist, and he finds extremism and terrorism in his hometown and sets about them as if they're a criminal outfit to bring them down. And it works just because they are a criminal outfit. Where he can use techniques learned in counter-terrorism against the council because they're the same people. They fit the MO. They behave in exactly the same way as extremists and radicals. It's like, are you getting it yet? Are you getting it yet? I do recall a few years ago making a video talking about this kind of stuff and saying at the end of it, and I really meant it, and I spoke it from the bottom of my heart, as to say, if we've still got a flying squad in this country, if we've still got MI5, they need to come to Rochdale now to break the gangs up. It's like you arrest the gangs, it's like the politicians who are in bed with them will soon fall. It's like this country needs RICO. Like in America, it needs organised crime laws. We don't have them. If we did, and you could lock someone up by proving they were a member of a criminal organisation, we'd be onto something. The politicians in the pockets of the criminals, they wouldn't be of much use very quickly when they're pillar of the community friends, who they get themselves photographed with and talk about what great mates they are with. When they go to prison, it's like those Labour politicians who are friends of theirs, they'll follow suit. They'll either talk themselves into prison or else just not get elected again. Disappear from public life, but remain in places like Rochdale and Oldham, looking out for the mates. And I'm hearing it today, and I've heard it from about 5 people. I first heard it on that terrible Jeremy Vine show because I thought, oh, I bet they've got completely the wrong opinion on this. And they had. They blamed the actions of Labour councils on the Conservative government. If the Conservatives hadn't put these councils into austerity, they would have had the money to be able to effectively do their jobs. A silly cow on Jeremy Vine's show, and he's like, well, you're right. So Those who aren't Keir Starmer at the minute are scrambling to find ways of blaming Conservatives for the failures of social services in Rochdale. We can't hold the council responsible, and we certainly can't hold council workers responsible for their actions. Imagine that, public servants being accountable. Where would that end? We can't be having that, because that's never existed. The only time anyone ever gets into trouble working for the public authorities is if they get caught with their hands in the cookie jar, and even that gets forgiven. It's not too many months ago I was in a hospital. I spent a lot of time in hospital this year, the last few years. And there was questions being asked. I was in a room off casualty, like the holding room where there's beds in casualty. I was in there, and there was a little investigation going on as to where 12 morphine tablets had gone missing. What do you think happened? And they're saying, well, there's only 3 of us with the key. What do you think happened? I listened to the entire conversation while I was on a bloody art monitoring machine. Like, well, we'll just leave it and see what happens. Now, 12 morphine tablets get stolen out of a hospital, out of a cupboard. The right thing to do is to call the police. Class A drugs have been stolen from a workplace. This is really serious. What did they do? Well, just leave it and we'll see what happens. I'm sat there giggling, I'm like, Jesus Christ, that's what this place is. You've had drugs stolen out of the place that shit morphine pills. You know, like for someone who's like really fucked up with pain. They've given up on you by the time they give you morphine. They've given up on you. You're just on knockout drops. Do you know how much those tablets would sell to people who like to party? I'm just saying, that'd be a rare find. What, you maybe talking 50 quid a tablet for that, for morphine? So when 12 of them go missing, that's a good night out for a few different people, isn't it? And when only 3 or 4 people have got the keys, and there's medicines missing. Police matter, isn't it? Not in the NHS, it ain't. Can you imagine that? The NHS starts to... we'll just leave it, shall we, when drugs start to go missing. And suddenly, you know, it's like hospitals are mixed bags of scumbag people, just like any other place. Can you imagine how many of them are walking around just boxed off the tits on opiates, doing the job? What kind of NHS would we end up if that became normalised as to where when serious drugs go missing, we no longer investigate and make examples of people to make it clear to everyone else that they're not to steal drugs? No. The senior person on the job just says, oh, forget it, let's leave it. And everyone goes home. So if the next person in the chain of responsibility decides the same, that's the end of it, it's covered up. Whoever stole those drugs got away with it and can do it with impunity, can't they? Because no one's willing. No one's interested in finding out that one of their friends is a criminal. And as long as that's the case, no one's ever getting in trouble for that. Corruption. I've seen it. I've been surrounded by it. I don't play ball. I have this funny thing about liking to sleep at night where others don't.